goddamn, I need IPA.
This is Beering Ain't Easy, your podcast for beer humor, dad humor, and beer tastings from Texas and beyond. So crack one if you got one and turn it up.
Welcome to Beering Ain't Easy with Ryan and Drew. As LL Cool J once said, don't call it a comeback.
We've been doing this for years. Ryan, welcome to season 3, episode 1. We've made it. How do you feel?
I feel rusty. It was so hard not to say the episode number and skip past it.
You were on strict instructions to not do so.
I had like 5 seconds and I still almost messed it up.
Well, I just would first off like to say welcome back to all our loyal listeners, what few of you there are left after our long absence. But it really feels good to be back. And I think this is going to be an episode maybe a little less structured than most. I feel like people got to relearn their host. And we got to drink some of these funky beers we were supposed to do on episodes over the last 3+ months.
I feel refreshed, Drew. I feel like I just went on a 3-month vacation. We got some stock built up here that we gotta we have to test things for the people.
Ryan has not been with us the last 4 months. He's been meditating in the Himalayas, coming up with new topics for the podcast, and so I'm glad that this energy is back.
You should see my facial hair situation right now.
What was that terrible Austin Powers movie? You look like the love guru.
Oh, God.
That's why we don't do a video podcast, ladies and gentlemen. So I feel like we need to drink some beer, Ryan. So what do we got today?
It's dealer's choice here. We got a couple of weird ones. You know, if we're going to let the listeners down with going dark for so long, then we have to punish ourselves when we come back. So I think that's what we're doing today.
Yes, punishment is a great word for it.
What comes first, Drew? Smoke or the fire?
I think the fire, man.
All right. Well, that's it. We're drinking the fire beer first.
Fire beer. Oh God, what do we got?
So we got Sixpoint Brewing. It's called Slice Sipper. It's an ale with Mike's Hot Honey.
What is hot honey? Is it like sriracha or what are we talking here?
It's legit. It's like honey, like infused with chili peppers. It's literally spicy honey. We actually have like literally Mike's Hot Honey. And I've been making a drink recently when I'm not drinking beer. It's a whiskey drink where I do some rye whiskey and a little bit of lemon juice and some Mike's Hot Honey. And it is delicious. So I am a fan of Mike's Hot Honey. I'm curious to see how it applies in this situation.
It's definitely got a pretty sweet can going on. There's like a huge pizza slice holding a little squeezer of honey in a beer. So, I mean, it pretty much tells you what you got to look forward to.
That's true.
5% alcohol, so it's not too much of a beast here.
So, Drew, you picked this one up. Where'd you find this guy?
I didn't actually pick this one up. This was your wife.
Oh, yeah, cut that. I remember now. She was shopping at an H-E-B that she does not normally shop at. She perused the beer section, and there was a whole bunch of beers at that particular H-E-B that they do not carry at ours. And so she went a little crazy and bought a whole bunch of funky stuff, and this was one of them.
It's a little cleaner than I thought it would be, but I have a feeling some of the hot honey is going to build on it.
So yeah, it says it's an ale brewed with Mike's Hot Honey, lemon peel, chilies, and black peppercorn. I'm pretty interested. So, Drew, I know this will shock you, but I have thoughts on pizza.
Okay.
I'm coming in hot.
Lay it on me. You're coming in with a hot slice.
So me being an engineer, so I just took a sip of this and I get lemon and black peppercorn immediately.
Yes.
So I'm glad I read that description because that would have been very disorienting.
Yeah.
It is good though. I get a little bit of heat on my throat here on the back end.
Keep sipping it. I don't hate it, but it definitely builds.
I'm actually excited about this. So anyway, me being an engineer, I used to be such like so weird about like opening a pizza box, and I'm like, if the pizza's like when I do a pizza and I cut it, I'm like trying to find that perfect angle so that every single piece is exactly the same size. But also growing up being an identical twin and having to share everything, so everything had to be perfectly split. So I think it's those two things. But I've recently become a convert, and now I think it is like amazing to just cut it all willy-nilly and have all sorts of different size slices. Because, like, for example, like I like big pieces, but my wife likes like kind of smaller pieces. So it's like if you just like cut it all crazy, then everyone can like pick a slice at the size they want. And I'm kind of into it. So I'm a recent convert for the chaos.
I think you've become more chaotic since from the beginning to the current status of our podcast. I think you've moved in the direction of chaos.
I think so.
I hope I've been a contributor to that.
Yeah, I was about 6 hours deep in my meditation up in the Himalayas when I came to this realization.
I could see this being a beer to pair with pizza, though, because like it's hard for me to imagine just sitting here with like a little bit of beer with heat. Like I feel like eating food with it to cut into that heat would really be a nice pairing. Because I like it, but I have a feeling. I mean, this is like a 16-ounce can. I have a feeling I'm not going to want to make it all the way to the bottom of it before I get tired of it.
I can see that. This is going to be ridiculous. I have more pizza thoughts. So, almost no matter what pizza I get, I have this hot sauce. It's pineapple and habanero hot sauce. Because yes, I am a pineapple and pizza guy.
Hey,
but I put this pineapple and habanero hot sauce on like any pizza I have, and so it's got that habanero heat. It's so good, but it's got that like real like citrusy, tangy pineapple kick. So it's like this delicious hot sauce. So my pizza is already really hot, but then this lemon and Mike's Hot Honey like complements it so well because it's like just like a slight variation of those same like combination of flavors. I bet it'd be really good.
Nice. Speaking of pineapple on pizza, it's a very polarizing topic. I had a work happy hour during the holidays, and we ordered some pizzas, and me and this other dude were like, "Yeah, we should get a ham of pineapple," and we're like geeking out about it, and we started just polling the audience, and like out of like 15 people, it was like 2 people that were pro pineapple and 13 that were against it, and maybe one like indifferent. But I'll be damned if that pizza was not the first one eaten that night. So I think people just like to say that they don't like pineapple on pizza, but then when it's in front of them, they're going to eat it. I don't know. What are your thoughts there?
I think so too. I think, and I'm one to talk here. I think it's the idea of it to people that makes it so bad, and that's what gets me on a lot of stuff. But like, if you add like hot sauce to your pizza, or if you dip it in ranch, what you're doing is you're adding that like kind of like tang, citrusy, which obviously ranch isn't like citrusy, but it gives you that like kind of biting tang. And I think that's kind of what pineapple gives you, because all of those other ingredients are like so like kind of heavy and like savory. So I think that's what it is. And so if you kind of think about it that way, it's not that weird.
I like it. Speaking of that, the dude that liked the pineapple, I received a gift at work. You know how like work is, like you're not usually like best friends with people at work. You kind of know them. Sometimes you may hang out with them, but they'll know like small facts about you. And, they try to connect with you. So they realize that I like beer, and that's about the only part of my personality that they can pick up on. Because as a middle-aged man, I have to have a hobby of either craft beer, grilling, or my lawn. I mean, it's part of being a middle-aged dad. So he gifted me a Hoppy IPA candle that I have not yet burned. So in honor of your Himalayan voyage, I feel like I should light a candle.
I don't care if that's the only thing he knows about you. That's a great gift.
It is. Working with limited data, he's like, this guy likes beer. I can't bring a beer inside work, so I'm going to bring him the closest thing I can, which is a beer candle.
Hey,
so
knocked it out of the park.
Shout out to Jonathan on this one. Have we ever set anything on fire on the podcast?
I don't think so. I mean, things have blown up, but nothing explosive.
There's a first time for everything.
Man, speaking of burning things, I'm actually really into this beer. I thought it was going to be like super gimmicky, but it's that lemon and peppercorn, which makes it almost like it's like a saison almost. But yeah, it's just not quite as like funky, grassy as like a saison would be.
Yeah, it's good. It's been a while since I've had a Sixpoint beer. I remember like they make the like Sixpoint resin beer, right? That's the ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are good.
That was like a class. That was one of like the really early ones I got into.
Yeah, that's good.
At some point, we're gonna have to like do like an overview of the entire industry and how like all the beers you used to be able to get were all like nationwide beers, and how consolidated and local everything's gotten.
Oh yeah,
Like, kind of wild.
Yeah, we probably should do a beer topic in here.
Which, since I said consolidated, we got to talk about the elephant in the room. Some of these beer closures since we last recorded.
Ryan, I feel like all we talk about is beer closures on this podcast.
Dude,
are we just like the bearers of bad news?
I feel like we prided ourselves on being so positive about everything, and then like it's just like every episode it was like, hey, who closed this week? Like,
rest in peace.
Man, that's not what I spent all this time meditating to do, is to be sad.
Over the holidays, I've read a lot of interesting, like you talked about, these big breweries not distributing as much anymore, small breweries shutting down. Like I've read a lot of articles about like what's happening to the industry. And so it's kind of a wild time. And I think a lot of people that survived through COVID, it was a fragile survival. And I think we're seeing a lot of people that are finally bowing out. And probably we're under a lot of strain. So what did you have on your RIP list, Ryan?
So, I mean, the big one that was just recently, it has to be Ingenious. We got to talk about Ingenious.
Oh, man. That's wild. I did not see that coming.
Yeah. Yeah, they made such a big like distribution push, and that's so much like creative stuff going. Yeah. And then such like some followers were like very, very huge fans of Ingenious. So it's kind of surprising, and it's not like the next one that we'll probably talk about. It's not like they were in a place that was like kind of, they priced themselves out. Like they were up and nimble, kind of off the beaten path. So it wasn't like they like overcommitted on rent or anything like that. So yeah, unlucky. Maybe that was part of the problem. They were so far off the beaten path. It was like they had to rely on distribution because it was kind of hard to go visit them.
Yeah.
Did you ever make it to the tap room?
I did.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, I made it. I picked up to-go beer there before, and then I actually went in and enjoyed the tap room as well. So it was a nice spot. And, like you said, there was a super loyal following there. But they did distribute a lot. Like they were all over HEB. And then I think they got into some of the... Were they in Tavor? I can't remember. They were in like some of those like beer shipment...
Mm. Yeah, probably. With the way they were pushing distribution, that wouldn't surprise me at all. But yeah, the only time I ever went was when the Shell Houston Open was still up at the Golf Club of Houston. And so we left there one time and went up there because we were like most of the way there. And that's why we never went back, is because it's like literally like over an hour for us to go there. So it was a tough ask.
Yeah, and I don't know all the nitty-gritty details of Ingenious, but some of the stuff I was reading about around brewery closures in general is that like a couple years ago, there was a lot of analysts that were saying that we were starting to get oversaturated in the craft beer market, and they were advising people to not open up new breweries, but they keep opening. And there was a large number of closures nationwide last year, but it still did not offset the amount of openings. So there's still more craft breweries opening than there are closing. But you have a saturated market, and they're becoming more and more local again, to where people aren't going after distribution. They're not canning as much. They're like making these local hangouts. But then if everyone tries to drink local and support their local hangouts, they quit buying those distributed beers that may be statewide, may have been around for a while, cuts into their market. And so it's like when you're saying support local, like who do you support? The guys down the street, or the one that's been around for a while, that's been in the grocery stores forever, that's still local? It's like you never know like what sort of financial situation your breweries are in. So it's hard. It's too much pressure to figure out how to help them. So that's why Ryan and I tried to go to as many as possible over. We just didn't do the podcast. We just went and drank beer at breweries, try to help them out.
We're busy
supporting
the local economy. The other one I was thinking about was Black Page Brewing shutting down. We had kind of talked about there was Reddit thread speculation they had kind of shut down, and there was speculation online about why they'd shut down and what was going on. But someone bought them and reopened as H-Town Brewing.
Yeah. Thank God. It was an awesome location.
Yeah. Also look at, the build out, the place was beautiful. It's an amazing tap room. And yeah, as long as you're pulling in that concert crowd all the time, hopefully this new one makes it. I haven't been since they changed. I don't know about you.
No, I haven't, but I guess we got added to the list.
The only other one was Astral selling and rebranding as North Shepherd Brewing.
Yeah.
I was there a couple of weeks ago. I think he was the taproom manager. One of the main guys at Great Heights moved over there and is now at North Shepherd. They kept a lot of their classic beers and then added a whole bunch of extra ones. So that one's cool. I like that. I still like that place. The place is still good.
I've always been a fan of their IPAs there.
Yeah.
They're like, they kind of have like that thick mouthfeel IPAs. I like them. They're like silky smooth.
The only problem, and I always laugh about this to my wife, is they have like several different IPAs, and one's called like Yale Street, one's called like 43rd Street, and one's called like, they're all different street names. So it's really hard to remember which one's which because they're just all street names.
Probably like one hop difference or something.
Yeah, so like I'll get me a 43rd Street and I'll get Allison a Yale Street and we'll both like them. and I'll be like, hey, do you want to get another one? She's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, which one do you want? She's like, what did I just have? I'm like, I don't know, either 43rd or Yale. And she's like, okay, just give me one. I don't care.
When Adam and I first created the podcast, we like joined like a Facebook group in every fucking city in the nation. And so sometimes I can go to the feed on Facebook and just look at all these like Facebook beer groups, and like you just look through and it's just like RIP closures in every state. And I'm like, I'm going to get off of this. It's not fun. All right. So I have some entertaining topics. This was kind of a downer. So do we want to like crack open the second beer just to get into something different to talk about?
Let's do it. But I joked about the fire coming first. What's the smoke, Drew?
All right. This smoke beer is going to be a doozy to talk about because I won't be able to pronounce it. We're back to drinking European beers again. I don't know, man. We didn't start strong with our Texas beers on our first two back on season 3. This was actually supposed to be for a Oktoberfest episode, but since we haven't recorded since God knows when, October, this is one of the self-proclaimed one of the best beers in Germany, but it's a Marzen smoke beer, and from Brewery Bamberg. It's a Rauchbier. So I historically have hated smoked beer and Rauchbier. I don't know what your background is, but I was like, you know what? We've never done one on the podcast, so I feel like in the spirit of growing and learning, we should force ourselves to try one.
Yes, I appreciate you going all in and giving it a shot, Drew. I also, yes, I don't like smoked beers. And if all the words that Drew just jumbled out don't make any sense to you, I'm a very familiar label, I would say. And I've never had it. And so even though I don't like smoked beers and we didn't fit it into our Oktoberfest episode, I'm looking forward to trying it and finally checking it off the list.
Yeah, I have seen this one in stores a lot. And I got it when I was on that kick when we did those best beers of Europe. This one literally came up in I think like the top 5 or the top 10 in Germany. And I was like, what? They like this shit? Whatever. Take a big whiff out of the top of that bottle, man. It smells like a smokehouse.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I'm about to go get some like straight up barbecue.
I bet it goes good with
pizza beer.
I was gonna say sausage, but yeah, way more subtle than I expected. I'll say that based on this. Like what after the smell, I was like expecting it to be just like full on blast of smoke, but no,
I don't like it.
I mean, it's not my favorite, but it is. It's much better than I expected.
I was about to ask like how you make a smoked beer, and so I actually turned the bottle around, and it has a little instruction here.
Wait, before you say it, I want to guess.
Okay.
So I'm guessing you don't literally pump smoke into the finished product. Do you smoke the malt?
Yes.
And then just brew as normal?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're basically doing that. So it looks like it's an ancient malting tradition. Its select barley malts are kilned over a fire of beech wood logs at the Schlenkerla maltings. It's brewed in classic copper vessels and matured for months in 14th century cellars. It's a truly unique smoky beer experience. So when it's kilned over a fire, is that you're just exposing the malts to smoke?
Yeah, so when you're roasting the malts to make like the dark malts, yeah, you're basically like cooking them in an oven, essentially. So yeah, if you do it over fire instead of just in general heat, then yeah, it'll impart those smoke flavors on it.
I'm trying to find descriptors on this other than smoky.
Man, it is
It's like a malt bomb too.
yeah, it is. Yeah. Like when you're trying to make s'mores and you inevitably set your marshmallow on fire and you blow it out and then you take that first bite of that charred part, it's like that.
I like that. That's pretty good. That's actually pretty accurate. Just less sweet.
Yeah. I stand by it.
We'll roll with it.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to keep sipping that one for a while to see if I can turn the tides on my initial negative reaction.
It is a sipper for sure.
So I feel like it's been so long since we've done a podcast. There's been a lot of stuff that's happened. Ryan and I have hung out a bunch of times. We've drank beer. We've been to breweries, but we haven't done a podcast. I thought I would do a segment, and if you want to piggyback it with your top 3, you can. But my top 3 favorite things that have happened since we've done the podcast. And by favorite things, it's the things I can remember in the last 2 weeks because my memory can't go back that far. So, and number 3, almost burning Ryan's house down a few weeks ago. We were throwing my wife's 40th birthday party, and I bought some little pie plate or like cake plates, but I guess they have some like foil glitterish stuff that's infused into the paper plates. And mind you, I've never had a paper plate that cannot be microwaved, but apparently this one has a nice warning label on the bottom that says, "Do not microwave, you dumbass. It's going to catch fire. Highly flammable." And so I was like, we'd been drinking and I was like, I'm going to have some mac and cheese. So I threw some like macaroni and cheese on a plate in this microwave and I let it go. It turned over and there was flames jumping up in that microwave. And I've not since been invited back to Ryan's house.
Yeah, when it's been a long time, like since like college or right out of college, since I've been faced with that situation of accidentally setting something on fire after you've been drinking after a party for several hours. So I think we handled it all in all pretty well.
On that note, I'm going to blow this candle out. Just to be on the safe side. All right. Number 2 one actually happened on that same night. We brought in, for my wife's 40th birthday party, I hired fortune tellers / psychics to come do like tarot cards, palm readings, whatnot. And my particular psychic reading had the normal positivity stuff that you would expect. But she then looked at me a little funny and she was like, I see longevity in your life, but you really need to start paying better attention to your health. Maybe you should start taking some vitamins. And I started thinking about it. So one, my wife had told me I needed to start taking vitamins like that morning, so that was kind of really freaky. But then I was like, does that mean she just was looking at me across the table and was like, this dude looks tired and this dude looks unhealthy. I think I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this guy needs some fucking vitamins. So,
yeah, how many people need to tell you look like shit before you start taking care of yourself?
Here's your sign. So on that note, we will be taking another 3-month break from the podcast. So I could go on that mountain in the Himalayas and figure things out for myself. She also said that she saw like coaching in my future. Like she didn't know if it was sports or like coaching people, and could not agree less about that.
Hey, you're a manager of some young individuals. You coach them all the time.
Yeah, I think I'm coached out. Did you have any words of wisdom from your psychic reading that you want to share with everybody on our listener base here, Ryan? Or are yours too secret?
She pulled almost, they like shuffle it and they split the deck and they have you pick one and they just start doing cards out of it. She went through almost that whole thing and she was like doing like draw. And then she was like saying random stuff. And I feel like she was like starting to like try to like get a reaction out of me. And so she goes back to one randomly and goes, "This is showing an old lady."
Does that mean anything to you?
It's like, "Is this your mother?" And I was like, "I guess, like, who else would it be?" She's like, "Is she stubborn?" And I was like, "What?"
Tell me more, Ryan. Since your mom
I was like, "Yeah, I guess so." She's like, "She sees things black and white." I was like, "Okay, yep, all right, yep, you're getting her now." I love you, Mom.
That's awesome.
And then she's like, "Yeah, she misses you." And so then I was like buying in. I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I only see her like a couple times a year." She's like, yeah. And she's like, "She wants to talk to you more." And I was like, yeah, I need to call her. She's like, "Yeah, you need to call her." And I was like, "Okay."
I like the moment when they paused and was like, "Does this mean anything to you?"
Yeah, no, I'm like dogging on it, but I love tarot card readings. I think they're like so fun.
Yeah, it was like everyone, I didn't know how the party would react to it, but every single person went in and got a reading. I did not expect that to happen. So it's definitely one of those things that's kind of fun to do.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So my last number one on the list. So during the holidays, I don't know at what point, if this was a new feature on Facebook or if it was just my neighborhood Facebook group chose to make this an option, but you can now post anonymously on our neighborhood Facebook group. So anonymous members can just say what they want and have no accountability for what they say. So there's been some good developments from this new anonymous members. So I'll start with the lesser ones. You have the typical people that are complaining about, your dog poops in the yard or cars parking in front of their driveways, or like, "I wish people would just move." And then someone's like, "Why don't you just go talk to them instead of being passive aggressive on Facebook?" And, to the typical round and round that you get on Facebook. I mean, social media already brings out the best in people. And so why not throw some anonymity? Anonymity.
There you go. Yep.
Bring some God, I can't say that word. Why don't we just bring some anonymity with the social media just to bring out like the crop of the cream of the crop on people? So there's one where someone was complaining about another neighbor's kids who they saw jumping up and looking into their backyard on the back of the fence. Obviously had lost a ball or something over the fence and popped over. And they proceeded to blast on the neighborhood about, "Oh, kids don't have respect these days. They're, jumping on the fence. They're lucky they didn't go all the way over because, things would have happened if they'd come over into my backyard." And I was like, these are small kids. And so, of course, the mom of the kids who actually got up on the fence, got on there mama bear style. I may know the husband and wife set that was their kids, and it made it more hilarious. One of them, the father of the kids, may have been on this podcast. I'm just gonna leave that nugget there. But got on there and was like, "Hey, they just were they were trying to see where their ball went so they can go around and ask. They knocked on doors, no one answered, and then the anonymous person doubled down and they're like, 'Well, you're what's wrong with these kids too.'" I was like, damn.
Dude, hopping fences is like the oldest thing a kid can do. Like, that's been happening forever. And I love, first of all, I love the fact that they allowed anonymous posting. It's just like so ridiculous. Like, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah.
It makes me want to sign back up for Facebook so I can just like see that kind of shit. But the other thing that I love that you also touched on is like, usually I see it on like Nextdoor with posts of like kids ding dong ditching, and everyone has these like Ring doorbells and stuff. And so people will be like, they'll post the video of a kid ding dong ditching and running away, and they'll be like, "Don't these kids know it's not safe to do that these days?" It's like, what are you gonna do? Your doorbell goes off and you're just gonna shoot out of your front door blindly? Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, fuck
Like
around and find out, man.
A bunch of hardos.
Yeah, internet warriors over here. In reality, they're like not going to answer the door at all, and they're like peeking through the blinds.
They're gonna be like, "Ooh, my Amazon package." They're not gonna be like, like, come on.
Oh man. Yeah, jumping over fences, like that hasn't left me. Like before Adam moved to Austin, they had put in a basketball court in their back, a basketball goal, and a little bit of concrete in the back, and we were, playing horseback there or something, or doing what we usually did which was lower the goalposts and do a dunk competition. But I bounced the ball over the fence into his neighbor's yard, and a few beers in, I felt like I was like 10 years old again, and I just vaulted over that fence into his neighbor's yard, and I retrieved that basketball so we could resume the dunk challenge. So it's
there you go.
the boy in you never leaves.
A tale as old as time.
But the last and best post of the anonymous Facebook experiment that is still ongoing, it has not been shut down yet, mind you. Someone posted about that they had been going to the gym every day, and they did a PSA that said, whoever is coming to the gym on the treadmill and not excusing themselves and farting on the treadmill needs to get their act together. Basically, they called out someone for crop dusting on the treadmill in the gym. That's peak Facebook.
So, Drew, have you come around on this Rauchbier or no?
As it warms up, it's not as bad, but it's just that it has the aftertaste tastes like liquid smoke to me. It doesn't taste like real smoke. It tastes like liquid smoke. And because of that, count me out. I don't think I would ever get one of these again. Maybe a little bit of lighter fluid with it too.
Yeah, I agree in that. I won't buy another one of these, but I'll finish this bottle. It comes in a full size pint. I'll be done after that.
Yeah, I think I like the pizza beer before that better.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to that one for sure.
Yeah.
So as you were going through your top events during the hiatus, well, I have two big ones. The main one being the anniversary party for the Nook Brewery.
Okay.
Which was awesome. I went up there. I go up there every year for it. This was the 3rd year anniversary. Always a great time, but it's interesting. And I may have mentioned this on here before, but it's interesting that every year I go up there, it's more and more hands off. Like the first time I went, like I was signed into the POS system, ringing people up sometimes, and like cleaning glasses, like doing everything, like constantly, like the whole anniversary party, never sitting down. Last year it was like a little bit easier. This year it was like I helped pour the anniversary beers like I always do with my brother. And then between that, it was like 45 minutes in between those pours, and you're just like hanging out. So it's like it's super cool to see the trajectory of the brewery. Like they're getting more employees, becoming just like self-sustaining, where you're like, yeah, you're not like on the hook the whole time you're up there. I don't know. It was cool. It was fun. Always good time. My brother makes really good beer, not biased at all. It's just really good.
And he's canning now, so I get to drink more of it. So I'm appreciative of that.
He started canning in the last year. They just hired a sales guy who's awesome, and I know he's going to do a really good job. So they're going to start scaling up and distributing more. Dude, things are looking great. Makes me super happy. And then selfishly, the other big thing, I got to turn it back to me. We started a pool yesterday.
Man, the ultimate monetary plunge, going in with a pool.
Yeah, the ultimate suburb dad sacrifice.
We're gonna have to have a whole segment of like pool beer episode at your pool,
dude, for sure. Yeah, we're gonna record it in the pool.
In the pool.
Drinking beers in the pool. Dude, these guys are crazy. So up here where I live, it's like people talk about clay soils, but this soil is like it's not even soil. It's straight up clay. It's so hard. I've tried to dig in it before. It's crazy. So they show up and they're in the backyard with a skid loader. He's like driving full speed and then just digging the scoop into the ground. And like the back's coming up and stuff. And he's just like launching into this ground to dig it out.
Jeez.
But from the minute they showed up to the time they started cleaning was like 5 hours. They had dug it was like a 35 foot by 12 foot pool. Basically, I forgot the exact dimensions, but it's something like that. And they dug this whole thing out and shaped it in 5 hours, and they were done. And then they like went out in the front yard and like pressure washed off the driveway to get all that mud off and all that clay and everything off the driveway. And then they were gone like an hour later. It was great. And then this morning, the steel guys show up, completely make all the forms with all the rebar in like 4 hours. And then the plumbing guys showed up and did that also in like 4 or 5 hours. So tomorrow they're supposed to be doing the gunite, and I'm going to have a pool shell in 3 days. It's crazy.
Wow. Congratulations. So you'll be swimming this summer then.
Oh yeah.
I'm surprised on your top 3 you didn't have the massive Oklahoma State Bowl victory over Texas A&M on your list.
I mean, that was just business as usual, man.
Oh, damn.
No, that was redemption for a couple of years ago.
Yeah, our two teams battling it out with depleted rosters.
I was going to say, like, I wasn't even excited for the game. Yeah, both our rosters were like depleted.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like
the portal, man. The portal has ruined college football.
Yeah, Nick Saban, he's done. He's done with that BS, man.
Yeah, I don't know what was more shocking, the amount of craft breweries that have closed down or the amount of big name coaches that got either retired or shit canned this year. It's like
right?
Bill Belicheck, Saban. It's like, dang. Jimbo.
Jimbo. But hey, Bill O'Brien still living the dream at every elite program.
That guy has definitely sold his soul to the devil or something. There's something in it, some black magic going on.
Yeah, everyone loves this guy. Which, yeah, speaking of, when this episode comes out, like, yay, congrats Texans on your divisional playoff win, or tough loss, we'll get them next year.
So you're putting a lot of faith in how fast I decide to release or edit this podcast after a 3-month delay.
I'm putting the pressure on you to edit it by next week, and then I'm also pressuring you to cut out the part that was wrong.
Congrats on your Super Bowl victory.
There we go. Now you're talking.
Yeah.
We're back.
I was just looking. I brought out a third beer just in case I didn't like either of these two that I could crack into.
I brought a third beer as well, but it wasn't something normal. So I'm kind of putting myself in a tight spot here.
Yeah. Can you really finish 3 abnormal beers?
I did the Eureka Heights Advent box like I do every year. So if you don't know what that is, you can probably guess. But every year, like on Black Friday, they come out with, this box where it's 25 beers. It's an Advent box. So every day in December, you open one up. And they put in a bunch of stuff. Like, we're going to have to do a vertical tasting of Nuke the Whales because I got so many Nuke the Whales dating back to 2021.
Dude, hell yeah.
And some variants and stuff. It's going to be amazing. So, yeah. Got a whole bunch of those, but they also throw in a bunch of other stuff. And one of the ones was if you work at Eureka Heights for 5 years, you get to brew a beer that you decide what to brew. So Evan has worked there for 5 years, and he brewed a breakfast tea and lemon Marzen. So I haven't had it yet, and tonight may be the night that I drink it.
Breakfast tea and lemon Marzen.
Yeah. So yeah, now that I've had this Mike's Hot Honey beer that has lemon, and I'm into it, it takes the edge off this other one a little bit. Maybe I don't know. I'm a lot more interested to try this one now. I feel obligated to try it for the listener, actually.
You have to now. Just in honor of Eureka Heights, I knew you were pulling a Eureka Heights beer that I didn't have. I bought some Buckle Bunny today because I just wanted you to have to say cream ale on the air. So that's what I got.
It's new year, new me. Cream ales are the name of the game.
Ryan sent me a text the other day, actually multiple texts over the last couple months of him drinking cream ale. So he's obviously fought his fears. And so I feel like you've grown since that mountaintop trip. I really think it was good for you.
I told you, it's a new me. And I feel obligated to express that to you by showing you every time I drink one. Like, see, look, I'm doing it. What you think about my personal growth, all right?
You should post that anonymously.
I need to. I'm signing up for Facebook right now. I'm going to become the Cyprus's biggest troll.
The Cyprus troll.
So I had a sip of this, of Evan's 5-year beer. Yeah, and I can't tell it's because I've been drinking this like crazy stuff, because this is like very subtle. So I'm like not picking up very much of it. I appreciate the fact that they made it so subtle, because it actually drinks like a regular beer with just like these hints. It doesn't taste like a gimmicky, like, crazy beer that's like punch you in the face with these flavors. It's very subtle.
After drinking those weird beers, man, just drinking like a straight up Buckle Bunny cream ale, it's fantastic. Forget those weird beers, man. Just drink beer. That's my advice to y'all.
Eureka Heights, I think they still do this sometimes. But like during COVID and stuff, and they were coming out with like a new beer like every week, they were like going nuts. They had like the most creative things to say on the bottom of their cans. Like if you like just peeked at it, like they'd always put these like super clever little things like underneath the date. This one says something, but since it's off to the side, it's hard to read. It's like "Hold on, Party Boy" or something.
Mine says "Bring back the podcast."
Hey, see, there you go. Clever. I know.
But it had a question mark. To be determined.
Yeah, that tarot card reader was like, do you do any kind of like public broadcasting? Like, it seems like you need to get back to that. It seems like it's pulling you in. And we're like, you know what? You're right.
I have a small topic on here that I've been holding on to for like almost 6 months. It's wild. But I feel like now's the time, right? So my wife is involved. She has a small business in Houston and is involved in different groups and chamber of commerces and things like that in the city. And she went to an event for the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and the keynote speaker was Troy Aikman. And the first thing I have to mention that my wife said, she came back, she's like, "Yeah, the lead speaker, he was a football player, quarterback. I think he was an Ace Ventura." I was like, "Who are you talking about?" And then we found out it was Troy Aikman. I was like, "I think of Dan Marino in that movie, but maybe Troy Aikman was in it too. I don't know." But like, I was like, "Really? I don't know who Troy Aikman is."
It was definitely Dan Marino, but they do have the same face shape.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Same time frame. So that was the first funny thing. But I don't know if you knew this, but Troy Aikman has his own beer line in Texas, and it's called Aecht beer. So he was number 8, and so it's like a craft, quote unquote craft lager. And so he was there at the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce there to give a motivational speech to small business owners. And I'll be damned if he just spent the whole time talking about his journey with Aecht beer and pitching it the entire time. I was like, "Oh my God, that's awesome." And then I started following him on social media, and during the 4th of July, he was like tweeting out, "While we celebrate," I wrote it down, "While we celebrate the birth of this great nation, what better way to drink beer than buying American beer? And then it was this 8 beer. I was like, oh my God, dude, Troy, come on, Troy. You're the reason the Cowboys aren't winning right now, buddy.
That's pretty cringy.
If Troy quit being so cringy, the Cowboys would start winning again. This podcast brought to you by 8 beer.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to buy it. So hear me out here. Future episode idea. I've heard that it's fun to do a macro beer blind tasting. So like your Bud Light, Miller Lite, Keystone, whatever you want to put out on the lineup. But I think we need to bring the 8 beer into the mix and see how it compares to a Bud Light. I want to do it.
Let's do it. I have insisted to people that, in a blind taste test, you couldn't tell apart Bud Light, Miller Lite, Coors Light. And I feel like I get pushback on that every single time. Everyone's like, oh, no, I totally could.
Yeah.
And I feel very confident that you cannot.
Oh, yeah.
So I totally think we should do this.
Yeah.
We're back. This has become just, I say it all the time. I try to cheapen the podcast. This is right up my alley, Drew.
Listeners, we have a list of literally like 30 episode ideas, and all of them are much better than the one that we're delivering today. So this is what you have in store for you for season 3.
We just had to force ourselves to get back in the game, shake the rust off, and then we'll start getting back into the structure.
Oh, yeah. Experiments galore, interviews. We got it all planned out.
We promise.
Question mark? That should be the closing.
No, props to Evan's 5-year beer. I was not expecting much, but I really enjoy it. I actually think I like the 6-point beer better. That's going to be my winner tonight. Followed by Evan's beer and then the Rauchbier.
Yeah. My final consensus is the Rauchbier is 2 thumbs down. The 6-point hot honey is pretty good, but I'd probably choose 8 ounces over 16. And Buckle Bunny for the win. That's the one I will be finishing tonight. So I want to thank the listeners for coming back to us on season 3. It's gonna be great. I promise. Ryan promises. So thanks for rejoining the podcast. Thanks for sticking with us over that gap. And I'm gonna use this time to give a shout out to all the breweries that Ryan and I have visited in the last span. And Ryan, you can throw some in if I miss it, but we've been to a lot here, so gonna go quick. Bad Astronaut, Holler, Equal Parts, Location 6, Vallenson's, Eureka Heights, Great Heights, North Shepherd, Galveston Bay, and Project Halo. Shout out to all the breweries we want to keep in business, and there's a lot more that we could not attend that we also want to stay in business, so go out and drink local beer. Ryan, would you like to close us out?
Yeah, but I also want to throw in, we also went to Misfit, so supported them as well.
Nice.
So yeah, it's nice to be back. It feels natural. It feels good to be here. I'm glad to be drinking these weird beers again. It's funny. I'm going on a very much a side tangent right now, but there's like a half of the top shelf of my beer fridge is stuff that I put over there that I'm like, oh, this might be for the podcast. So I just kind of like start tucking stuff over there. And that's been growing steadily over the last few months. So it's nice to dig into that and start pulling out some of this weird stuff. And not only clear up some space in my fridge, but also just try some of these things that I see on like a daily basis for months.
Yeah, we got like 6 episodes worth of those beers.
Yeah. So, it's nice to come down from the top of Mount Everest and come to my zenful place and then immediately start going on rants about inconsequential societal topics.
Welcome back, Ryan.
Good to see you, Drew.
See y'all next time.
This has been a Beering Ain't Easy production out of Houston, Texas. Follow us on Instagram or Facebook or at our website at crossthestreamsmedia.com, where you can find our podcast and all the other great sister podcasts on our network.
Streams. This has been a Cross the Streams Media Podcast.